Welcome to Gotta Run. This is Will Sanchez. Thank you for tuning in. My special guest today is Max Knobbe. He is the executive director for BronxNet. BronxNet is a sister organization with Manhattan Neighborhood Network, but located in the Bronx. Max is also a member of the Rat Cortland Track Club, and he is a member of the triathlon tribe known as Huracan. Welcome, Max.
Hey, thanks, Will. It is such a great honor to be here in Manhattan Neighborhood Network with you in this lovely studio, and congratulations on 8 years of outstanding programming on MNN, and for sharing Gotta Run with Will on BronxNet television for the last 4 years.
That's right. You did great research.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, Manhattan Neighborhood Network, we had a celebration last year celebrating all our producers that have been producing great programming for 20 or more years, some of which have been doing it for over 25. But I just got an invitation from you guys. You're having something very exciting next week. Tell us about it.
So BronxNet has been serving the people of the Bronx as a multimedia production network for close to 25 years from the beautiful campus of Lehman College. And we've expanded. We have another location in the East Bronx in the Hutch Metro Center at Mercy College. And we're soon to be in the South Bronx. We just had a groundbreaking for what will be BronxNet at the Hub.
We've been working over the decades to try and achieve our goal and our mission, which is to bring BronxNet, its services, and all that it offers to community, to every community.
BronxNet at the Hub is really a community technology center.
With studios already at City University of New York's Lehman College and Mercy College at the Hutchinson Metro Center, BronxNet Executive Director Max Knobbe is standing in front of the new location.
Windows right here, a window studio, windows on the South Bronx, as well as an immersive media green screen studio and state-of-the-art control rooms so that people can produce new media, students can learn immersive media. And next week, we are having an open house at BronxNet Television at Lehman College for the upgrades and renovations that are happening to the studios. So we've got all new technologies that are being installed, and some are already in place. And, it's just an invitation for people to see how they can connect to their network, BronxNet, in the Bronx.
Great. Just recently, a couple of years, we're now able to upload our videos directly to a server on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and you guys are able to do that as well.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all about functionality and keeping pace with technology and providing valuable services. We're really a community technology center as well. And go to BronxNet.tv to learn how you can participate, whether you're an organization, educator, student, just somebody who lives in the Bronx or who works in the Bronx. There's so many different ways for you to connect. We're just a bridge away. Manhattan, the Bronx. You could stroll across the High Bridge right to see your neighbors and friends in the Bronx from Manhattan and vice versa. So it's good that we connect. It's great that we share programs between MNN and BronxNet. And we celebrate our city, all seasons, from the Bronx to Manhattan to all of our boroughs.
Excellent, excellent. I know you guys, the BronxNet and Manhattan Neighborhood Network, work together on programming like Represent New York, which is, politicians get together and talk with local electeds about all sorts of things.
Absolutely. There's electeds that represent both communities in Manhattan and the Bronx, and there is a relevancy for sharing programs, and BronxNet and Manhattan Neighborhood Network have been sharing programs.
That's right. That's a good point. Like the great Senator Jose Serrano, he represents the Bronx and parts of Manhattan. It's interesting because he hits both community boards in Manhattan because I've seen him in both places.
Absolutely.
So he's a busy guy.
Absolutely, it's true.
I want to give a shout out too because I was there for the 20th anniversary of Bronx Talk, which was 3 years ago. It's a terrific program hosted by Gary Axelbank. I almost forgot his name.
Yeah.
Wow, and he's been there since the beginning.
Just
BronxNet?
close, yeah. He's been on for a while with Bronx Talk, and it's a commitment to talking about what makes the Bronx special, what's happening. We all at BronxNet have ears to the ground, and this show basically is talking about the civic life and encouraging civic participation along with other programs, but Bronx Talk particularly also is a forum for debate. We have during the campaign season, during the elections, local elections, candidates come in and they do candidate interviews, but also Bronx Talk has debates that occur along with another program that we do called In the District, candidate interviews, as well as a video voter guides that we share and more. So it's voter awareness, but it's also a commitment to the performing arts. So throughout our close to 25 years of public service, we've been broadcasting programming by, for, and about the Bronx that have to do with arts and culture, arts documentation, artists in performing venues in the Bronx, and Bronx artists that are all over, really. And that's kind of exciting. And we also have a commitment to education. And we train students. We've trained thousands of middle school, high school, and college students in media production. It's workforce development training that we do at BronxNet, and many go on to get careers.
You guys are right in Lehman College, so you've got a student population right there.
Yeah.
And you also said you were at Mercy College.
Correct. We're at
And
those
then you're
schools.
opening up a third brand new state-of-the-art, I guess that's coming in the next few weeks, months?
So we are going to have a pilot studio in advance of BronxNet at the hub in La Central, which is going to be a major production facility. And this pilot site will be in the near term. But because this is part of a terrific development that is in the South Bronx, La Central, and these are buildings that are tall buildings, the construction, it's going to be a couple of years.
This is about creating a space for future generations. This is so that families and particularly our youth don't have to play in rubble. They'll be in the YMCA. This is about our kids being prepared in technology and media with the over 13,000 square foot BronxNet. I see my friend Paul, who's the chair of BronxNet here. This is about creating housing for a myriad of different communities, a living space, green space.
And it's a street front studio. It's two studios actually, and it overlooks a school and a little league field of dreams there. And you also have another studio where you can do new media as well, and media learning labs.
Wow. Well, we'll look
included.
forward to the invitation because that sounds extremely exciting in a couple of years. I guess in time for 2020?
Yes.
But 2020 is an interesting year. It's a year of the census.
It is.
But it's also the year that, it must be true for the Bronx as well, but that's the year the franchise agreement with the cable companies gets renewed.
Correct. Yeah.
So I guess you guys are probably working together with the other sister cable companies to make sure, that happens on time. Because as you probably recall, back in 2010, it was delayed actually for more than a couple of years.
We do work together with our producers all across this great city and stations all across this great city.
We should mention that there is a BronxNet or Manhattan Neighborhood Network in every borough. Staten Island.
There's QPTV, there's Brick Arts Media, there's MNN, there's CTV, and there's BronxNet
all the
Television.
names, and they're all very similar.
Yeah, no matter where you are in this great city, you have a resource that you can leverage to share your voice and vision.
But let's talk about how you got involved in sport, because we mentioned that you're part of a triathlon club, which is a very interesting name. So let's start at the beginning. Tell us, Max, where were you born and something about your childhood?
So I was born in Columbia Presbyterian, but I think the next day I was in the Bronx. My parents were living in the Bronx, and I grew up in Kingsbridge in the Bronx. And I went to public school 7, and I remember walking to school every morning and smelling Stella D'Oro cookies, because there was a Stella D'Oro factory there every morning. And I remember also taking swimming lessons at an early age, and I didn't appreciate it at the time, but it helped kind of build like a core for endurance. And I remember running with my dad. The earliest memory running for fitness I have is when I was like 4 years old. My dad would take me to Van Cortlandt Park to the stadium, and we'd run around the track. And that, and I kind of loved running at an early age. And I went to Bronx High School of Science, and I go all over. I've been all, different parts of the world, but wherever I go, my heart and home is always in the Bronx. And I live right next to what is one of the premier cross-country trails in North America, Van Cortlandt Park. And I run there as much as I can every morning. I get up early. I'll get up at 5:30, and I'll enjoy a run in the park. And it's a great way to start the day.
Absolutely. But after Bronx High, did you go on to higher education?
I did. I got my bachelor's of fine arts at a school called Drew University, the University in the Forest in Madison, New Jersey. And then I got my master of fine arts at Lehman College, as part of the City University of New York, where we are located, where BronxNet's located. And while I was getting my master's, it was like a little ad that I saw for what will be a new TV station. As a graduate student, I showed my portfolio because they were looking for a graphic designer. Before there were studios, cameras, channels, or anything, I was hired. I was like the third person hired to be like a graphic designer to help with some of the branding of what would be BronxNet television.
Wow, so you're at the very beginning of at the birth of BronxNet.
I was there close to like what was the genesis, and and there were some great people that made it happen, and fought for it over the years, because cable came a little bit later to the Bronx. And I was honored to be a part of helping what would be a great team.
What is fine arts? That involve television work or media?
So I was painting, I was doing printmaking, some interactive type sculpture, and a little bit of media, multimedia, really, at an early stage of it.
So you're good with your hands, and you got a good eye for art, for beauty.
Arguably. Yeah. I mean, I definitely had an affinity for it from an early age. I loved to draw from when I was a little kid. I almost went to music and art. My parents convinced me to go to Bronx Science. My friends went to music and art, but yeah, I've had this affinity for the arts, and and that's part of what I love about the Bronx. It's such a creative borough, and it's such a welcoming borough for expression. And that's why things like hip hop are born in the Bronx, and all sorts of cultural manifestations, including Latin jazz and other musical forms. Doo-wop, greatly influenced by Bronx artists.
You're in a perfect spot in BronxNet. You can let your creative juices come out, as well as with the beauty of nature nearby, go out and run and enjoy the fresh air of Van Cortlandt Park, which is one of the most beautiful parks in the whole city. In fact, one of the reasons that Gotta Run with Will airs in the Bronx is because of the Van Cortlandt Park, particularly the Putnam Trail. It's a beautiful trail, and I was introduced by your club, the Van Cortlandt Track Club. They introduced me to that trail. They wanted to protect that trail, to keep it pristine, and they reached out to as many people as possible to bring awareness to the Putnam Trail. And so I said, well, one way to bring awareness is to put a camera on that trail and show the beauty of it.
Yeah.
It's just, as you know, I've seen some of your photos. Your photos of the Putnam Trail is also spectacular.
So my photos are in the cross-country trails and some of the way back hills and other trails. So I definitely have some shots of the Putnam Trail, but really I shoot all across that beautiful park.
It is a tremendous, the Putnam Trail is like 1.5 miles, but also very much beloved. It's an ongoing saga. But now you're working as I guess you said you started as a graphic designer, was soon to become BronxNet, and then you work your way up.
I reported for what was the first and only daily news program in the Bronx at the time, BXNY. I covered the arts scene as well as health and fitness. And I produced the first performing arts show, which was one of our earliest shows as well. It's called Bronx Live, and there's terrific artists performing across the Bronx, and we documented their performances with multi-camera shoots and broadcast on BronxNet. And then the artists had a reel that they could share to get other performances booked across the nation.
Okay, but at some point you became the executive director. What were some of the steps to get up there?
Well, we had developed our production arm, and I started department. I was asked to start a department called Creative Services, which was the production arm about BronxNet, which formalized this mission to produce programs by, for, and about the Bronx. And it just a love for the Bronx and support and the commitment to public service that I saw with this team, and growing with the team sort of was organic, I guess.
I can't imagine anybody with more experience if you were there almost at the beginning, learning these different aspects, and you're such a creative guy with your fine arts degree, your eye for arts and appreciation for arts. That's the key thing. You appreciate what you see and what you have, and you're willing to share it.
Another thing is that we have a very dedicated board of directors, and there's founding board members that like our chairman Paul T. Gentile, and someone who's a mentor to me, Dr. Roscoe C. Brown,
The airman?
the Tuskegee Airman, a world hero, an American hero, and a world hero, and somebody who has inspired so many. And he was one of our founding board members. He is also the founder of the Dr. Roscoe C. Brown Hall of Fame Run the Bronx Community College 10K, which I just ran this Saturday, and it was beautiful. It's a great way to enjoy the Bronx, is to run along the Grand Concourse and participate in this what is really a community race. You'll see people of all ages, multi-generational, celebration of the Bronx, no matter where you live in the city, this is a race to participate in. It's so wonderful at what is really a site that used to be NYU. It's now Bronx Community College. It is the site also of the first Hall of Fame in the world, the Hall of Fame for Great Americans. And it's where Dr. Roscoe C. Brown, one of our founding board members, he was once president of that school as well.
Oh, yeah, he is very famous. I had another guest who was talking about him because he was one of the pioneers, runners back in the old days, New York Road Runners. What a small world. And here he is again, a key figure in the Bronx, which I didn't know about. I didn't know about this 10K. I think it needs to be better publicized. You got to get road runners.
It was the biggest participation this year. Absolutely. This year, they had a huge number of people, really. And there's always good participation. That's for sure. It's a great race.
Great. I think you said you also ran Sunday again, right?
I ran Sunday. I ran the Bear Mountain North Face Endurance Challenge. I did the 10K. It was a little drizzle. It was a lot of rocks. The uphills seem challenging. Sometimes the downhills there are more challenging because of the terrain. But it was fun. It's a different type of challenge. And
it is.
And Bear Mountain's beautiful.
Oh yes, and they have multiple kind of races. You said they did the 10K. I think they have a 50-miler. This.
And you know what? I learned that, hey, doing 2 10Ks back to back is not a bad thing. It actually helps the training, I think. I was surprised. I was like, wow, this feels good. It was actually fun.
You used to run for your dad, but your running took, more of an importance. So when did you discover that, running was really going to be part of your lifestyle? This is something I got to do. I don't know if you did it with a club, with Van Cortlandt Track.
I'll tell you when it was, actually. It just reminded me. Okay, so at the university in the Forestry University, I used to play rugby. And I was second row, and I played that for a couple of seasons. And then one day, I always loved to run. In the training, I always felt like I had more, in my tank to keep going. And I saw these guys and young ladies running at a good clip while we were on the practice field, and they were definitely gliding nicely. And I said, "Wow, that's interesting." And it turned out to be the cross country team, which I hadn't really even known about. And it was kind of my first time. It was kind of an awakening. It was kind of like an epiphany. Hey, I should figure out whether or not I can do that. And then I just spoke to the coach, and he said, "Yeah, sure, come out." And I started running cross country, and that's how I started really formalizing the running. And then I continued because I was still eligible to run when I was at Lehman because I only ran 1 year or 2 years of cross country. I ran while at Lehman, and a great thrill was winning the CUNY championships for Lehman with our team. And contributing to that team effort, and beating some schools that were favored to really dominate that. So that was great. In Van Cortlandt Park, my home turf, and coming home with that and bringing that trophy to the Lehman College campus and the Apex. That was a great privilege.
Wow. Well, did you specialize in any one particular distance? Were you a 1 miler? Or
this was
5K?
the cross country races back then and still are usually 5 mile races.
Okay. So you were pretty good at the 5 milers.
I was okay.
Okay. Well, enough to be part of a team that won championships. So
Yeah,
that's,
exactly.
that's a big honor.
Yeah.
I think you said you've done several half marathons. Do you have any particular favorite ones or one that was memorable for any reason?
I loved the Bronx half marathons that the New York Roadrunners did. Now they changed it to the Bronx 10 miler, which is also great. And it's another great race that is along the Grand Concourse, the Champs-Élysées of the Bronx, this beautiful grand boulevard with the first, it's the first public roadway in the world to have underpasses and overpasses, and it's kind of a glorious grand boulevard that, driving along it is interesting, but running along it is amazing. It's a great experience. So I encourage people to do the Bronx Community College Run the Bronx Run every spring, and then, you know what? I guess it's in the autumn or at the end of summer. It's the Bronx 10 miler, which is interesting. But the half marathons, what is the half? I did the Brooklyn half marathon a couple of times, which is nice because it starts in Prospect Park and it ends in Coney Island. So you end up in a different place. It's not a circuit. And that makes it fun. It makes it more of an adventure. So that's kind of a cool race, too.
Have you done the New York City half? They changed the course this year. So.
I did the New York City half. I did. It was great. Yeah. I've
Now
done that with friends, and that's
and they changed the course this year, so it's like a whole new course when you do it the next time.
running in Times Square. That's another great
that's still part of
experience.
it. Yeah,
It's a great way to see our city. It's running the city is a great way to see the city. Biking and swimming even. I've done the New York City Triathlon.
Wow.
And that was my first triathlon, the Olympic distance New York City Triathlon. It's a great way to see and experience New York City and the Hudson River there, I think.
Okay. Mention the name of a team that you train with, the Tri team. What's it related to?
So Huracan is a Bronx-based triathlete team.
Huracan, we are born and raised in the Bronx, New York. It's a triathlon club that consists of mostly persons of color. Most of our athletes are right here from the Bronx.
I'm going to be representing Huracan. I'm going to be representing the Bronx.
Most of the training is done pre-dawn hours. We all have 9 to 5s. We're regular folk. We've prepared athletes to understand what it means to prepare yourself nutritionally in the days, in the weeks leading up to big training days and big events such as Ironman.
Ishmael Rodriguez, who's a terrific Zen type of coach that, he really is working with people at all levels. There are adults that didn't know how to bike, and he's training them for triathlons.
Excellent.
People who don't know how to swim, and they're starting from scratch, and they're learning how to swim, and then, you know what? Like months and months of serious training, they're doing their first Ironman. So it's incredible to see this transformation. So I started out just documenting them and producing stories about them, about one of their elite team members, triathlete Saudi Tejada.
My name is Saudi Tejada, aka the Honey Badger.
Saudi Tejada, she is our star. She just completed the New York City Triathlon, which is an Olympic distance triathlon. She was first in her age group. Saudi Tejada will be competing in Ironman Lake Placid,
Which is a 2.4-mile swim, 112-mile bike ride, followed by a full marathon.
She also came in third in her age group for her first Ironman in Lake Placid, which we did a story on at BronxNet.
Race morning happens. We're up at 3 a.m. Dale boom. Those steps that you take, that first touch of the cold water. I am swimming in an Ironman event.
And then I started training with them because, you know what, they're serious, they're great, they're welcoming, and I say they coach people at all levels. And And their workouts are great. You know, it's in my home course. They're a Bronx-based team.
Yep.
Try Huracan. You know, it's like Hurricane. They're akin to the Bronx. They're tuned in with culture, and they're definitely advocates for health and fitness, which I love.
Yep. It sounds like you got minority people, you know, in the group.
Principally,
because,
Latino folk.
Because triathlons have the reputation that it's a very expensive sport to do. And it sounds like you figured out a way to get everybody into it. Money should not be an object.
Try Huracan and athletes like Saudi Tahada and Coach Ish. I mean, they're helping to break barriers for sure.
Yeah. Oh, that's excellent. Now, in BronxNet itself, do you lead any kind of athletic endeavors there? I think you guys, you negotiated or you led some kind of polar bear club from the Bronx?
So yeah, we do a annual swim at Orchard Beach, which is New York City's Riviera, Orchard Beach in the Bronx. And every February, around Valentine's Day weekend, at some point, we do a winter swim against homelessness.
Park officials are telling us this water is right about 32 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's going to be chilly jumping in right there. Swimmers are also bringing new socks, gloves, hats, and other clothing to donate to BronxWorks, a nonprofit group. So far, $1,600 has been raised. Officials expecting the final number to be $2,000.
Basically, it's to raise awareness about the plight of the homeless. It's you can imagine folks dipping into cold water as being sort of, one way of kind of explaining, what it's like to be a homeless person in the cold weather during the winter.
BronxWorks, which is a great organization that has all sorts of services for youth and the public and the homeless. And what we do is we collect support and warm clothing items for the homeless and gather at the beach and go in the water together. And it's a celebration of our city all seasons, but it's also just a reminder, hey, we're going in the water in this controlled way, but there's people here who are subjected to the elements in what is the coldest time of year, who don't have a home, who are in need of services, and BronxWorks is there. So we're raising awareness about the issue.
So you encourage couples to come in?
We do. Take the plunge with someone you love with the Bronx Polar Bears at the New York City Riviera in the Bronx, Orchard Beach, every February. Absolutely. The Bronx Polar Bears.
Listen, is there any closing remarks?
Will, I got to run with you. I'd love to do a nice run with you. It's so great to be here. And just find your path to health and fitness no matter what you do. I mean, at whatever level, there's a way, whether it's yoga, whether it's swimming, whether it's running, whether it's just hitting the gym. And, there is some level of activity that can help make us more aware of our landscape, more aware of ourselves, and live a better quality life, thrivability.
Got the perfect place to run. You, I, Senator Jose Serrano, Bill Perkins, Senator Bill Perkins, we're all going to hit the Putnam Trail.
Excellent. I'd be honored. Thanks, Will.
It's a pleasure.
Keep Bronx strong, all cities strong. Para siempre.